Radio has the world's top doctors on call for you, with specialists in everything from cardiology, oncology, public health, and men's and women's health, to psychology, pediatrics, allergies, nutrition, the ER, and more. With no waiting rooms, no referrals, and no copays. Dr. Radio, Sirius XM Channel 110.
To listen to Dr. Radio, activate your subscription now by calling 844-711-8800 or head over to SiriusXM.com to sign up quickly.
Deserve the best. With the SiriusXM Platinum VIP plan, you can unlock the ultimate listening experience in up to 2 cars and stream anywhere with 2 app logins. Enjoy our greatest content, opportunities for live VIP experiences, and prioritized customer care. Plus, get access to over 5,000 audio and video concert recordings through nugs.net. Call 844-711-8800 and become a VIP. Offer details apply. Not available in Canada.
Plan. You never have to miss your favorite SiriusXM programs or commercial-free music. Find the SiriusXM app in the App Store or call 844-711-8800 or visit SiriusXM.com/app to find out more.
Are back. And so are JT, Beyonce, Usher, and Rihanna. Along with the rest of the pop hits that shaped the sound of the new millennium. Let's get it started. SiriusXM's Pop 2K, a non-stop commercial-free flashback to the era of boy bands, phones, and MP3s. On Channel 10. To hear this channel, activate your radio now. Call 844-711-8800 or head to SiriusXM.com/go to sign up quickly.
There you go now.
I think I'm recording.
Oh, let's see. You gotta get this. You gotta get this.
Thinking about buying a home, you need to be in the zone, the home buying zone. You need a game plan to win in this great real estate market. The Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage has all your bases covered. Whether you're a first-time home buyer, purchasing your dream home, refinancing, consolidating debt, or even considering a reverse mortgage, contact the Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage today. They have the lowest closing costs and they'll close your loan on time, guaranteed, or they'll pay your first mortgage payment. And they even have a 3.5% purchase down payment grant that can get you into a home with little money out of your pocket. It doesn't get more clutch than that, folks. Score big on the biggest purchase of your life. Call Equity Zone Mortgage today at 1-800-772-8624. That's 1-800-772-8624. Or apply online at EquityZoneMortgage.com and tell them Big C sent you, as heard on the Big C Sports Podcast. 018-468-68.
Rondo Deportes, Bonjour, Vidi Vidi Vici. Let's get ready to rumble. Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton of Big C Sports. This is Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the number 1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the number 1 sports show in the universe, according to me and people who love the universe. And that would include you. What a beautiful day in the neighborhood. A beautiful day in the neighborhood. Won't you be my neighbor? Shut up! Oh, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. You know you voted for me to be neighborhood watch person. And it's not my fault that you don't like getting up early in the morning. I want to say on a beautiful Tuesday, August 6th, 2024. Today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers. Home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. When you go by and test drive yours, tell them to sit you where the good Lord split you. And hopefully the good Lord did split you too wide. But I know a lot of people, we eat a lot of double-doubles at those fast food restaurants, and you have no choice but to be extra large, if that makes sense to you. I want to have Big C Sports Podcast be extra large at the top of your mind, man. Latin is strike. If Big C Sports Podcast is extra large in the top of your mind, I love doing that. I want to say I'm going to talk about some NFL today. Also, the Olympics is amazing how they're running around the track like lightning. They're running so fast. But Noah Lyles ran a nice time, but Flojo ran even faster at the Olympics in LA, if that makes sense to you all, fair level, where I want to say I do what I do, and when I do it, I do the best I can at it. It's not for everybody. But it's for those who love real talk. I got a special guest coming on today, and we're going to have some real dialogue too. I don't do things by a lot of scripting. I don't script my show. I do things impromptu, but I use the top of my mind to do the best I can with Big C Sports Podcast. What I always want to say is, number one, I'm one beautiful, intelligent black man. I always produce the show. I direct the topics. I broadcast all the shows. I do all the sound effects based on the platform provided by the agency. We could all use more laughter in our lives. I knew I could use more laughter. And then the commercials are done. The stats are provided. I even do the storytelling. And then I do the play-by-play. I go Steph Curry for 3. Yes! Get the hole in your life! Have you ever seen such a shot? I love bringing up the great Steph Curry. You know my last name's Curry also, if that makes sense to you. And then the show's uploaded to 29 podcast platforms out of New York City. And I'm in Denver Hills, California. And they're streaming on 4 TV platforms: Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV, and maybe more, because the Big C Corporation's in talks for more programs that they want to hear Big C scream. If it screams, can you hear it in space? They say if a tree falls in the forest and you don't hear it, does it make a sound? What, Big C? If a man is screaming at the top of his lungs all over the universe and you don't hear him, does he make a sound? Yeah, I think he makes a sound. Oh, fair enough. And then, as I always say, I never miss a day with the Big C Sports Podcast, and now we have people that miss practice. I'm not talking about the game. I'm talking about practice. The great Allen Iverson says now we have people who miss practice. Well, I will not miss practice through joy, pain, sunshine, and rain. I always rise and shine, if that makes sense to you. I want to also make sense to you by saying I love paying homage to the Veterans Crisis Hotline, because they really are experienced in helping veterans and their loved ones get help. They know that a mind is a terrible thing to waste, and they will stand on their head to get our veterans some help. You know, anybody going through issues, pick up the phone, call 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255, or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. And when you do, you want to give us some praise, because we all need somebody to lean on, and the show is good when somebody's leaning back. That's my story. And I also want to say thank you to Xfinity, Comcast TV, and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like in Genesis 1:3, where God said, reparations now, reparations forever. And then God said, let there be light. When I say that, some of my pastor friends, they want to give me a call. They say, Big C, you don't want to blaspheme God. It does not say reparations in the Bible. I said, oh, yes, it does. What do you call shining light on the subject? If you have something in the dark and you can't see it, it doesn't mean it's not there. But you turn on the light, and the light is bright, and then it shines light on what it is. We deserve reparations in this great country for us, and we're going to get it. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I also want to say, for Big C Sports Podcast, no matter who you are in this world, we all want love, peace, and soul for everybody. I come in peace. I love coming in peace. Everybody needs someone to believe in. And I know growing up as a young boy, there's always been somebody to believe in me, telling me you can do it. You can do it. Don't give up. Don't quit. If the glove don't fit, you must have quit. I mean, that's something I heard on TV from the late Jake Cochran, if that makes sense to you. But I was told if the glove don't fit, you must have quit. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. So what I want to do with the Big C Sports Podcast, I'm the only sports show in the universe that pays homage to the California Reparations Task Force, because they know a mind is a terrible thing to waste. And I promise I will always pay homage to people who do the right thing. And there's always time to do the right thing. It's always the right time to do the right thing. I want the JUST Act. You can Google it. The JUST Act. JUST Act. United States Department. Make sure. United States Department of Justice. They made sure that they worked with the German government to pay reparations for Holocaust heirs. And you know who helped liberate all that garbage from Nazi Germany? It was African-American soldiers, along with other white soldiers that served in this country. And when they came home, the GI Bill was given to the white soldiers. They told the black soldiers, they told you get nothing. And that's not right. America's a just country, and I want to do the best I can to make sure that people understand that we can all do right. We can all do better. That's my story that I'm taking with it. Now, in the meantime, I told you I'm going to talk about some NFL. And also, I have a special guest that's going to give me his thoughts on some things going on with some settlements. The settlements that are happening, concussion talk, just a myriad of things I want to talk about. But in the meantime, I've been working on this commercial. It's more like an infomercial, Big C. Yeah, it's more like an infomercial because I want to make sure I take this message from sea to shining sea. May lightning strike if it doesn't go from sea to shining sea. That's my story and I'm sticking with it. Well, pay attention because it's going to be a quiz when I'm done, and you don't want to flunk this quiz because it's set in front of the whole universe. You can't take this quiz in quiet. Everybody knows you if you know the answer or not. I have a guide to protect, preserve, and transfer wealth. It's called Resource Development Consulting in conjunction with the law office of Scott Thibodeau and the law office of attorney George Jones, The Missing Link, Long-Term Care, Solutions by the Book, over 3 decades of experience, helping seniors to get their benefits, Medicare and You, taking care of tomorrow. In California, it's called Medi-Cal. In other states, it's called Medicaid. Your family and spouse can avoid the spend down for nursing home costs. You can find out your options by calling 800-772-8624. That's 800-772-8624. You tell them Big C sent you. Our goal is to specialize to navigate and maximize long-term care benefits, protection of your assets without a spend down. The asset test is no longer applicable in California. All paperwork and communication with all government agencies are handled by our staff of entitlement specialists. We have ongoing consulting, providing updates as necessary, benefits covering skilled nursing facilities, prescription medications, medical equipment costs, and more. Have you ever known anyone to deal with skilled nursing facilities? Have you ever known anyone to deal with medical prescriptions? Have you ever known anyone to deal with medical equipment costs? And more. But not only that, protection of your assets, if that makes sense to you, including your home, thereby allowing you to leave a legacy for your family. In fact, part of my infomercial is I'm a Trekkie. I love Star Trek. I'm also the Empire. I love Star Wars. Long ago in a galaxy far, far away, the USS Enterprise was on a 5-year mission to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life in new civilizations, and to boldly go where no man or woman had gone before. And that is right. They were cruising out in the universe, and they came upon this galaxy that had 9 planets, like 9 series DNA. And there was one peculiar planet. It was a big, black, shiny planet. And so POTUS 45 said, build the wall, build the wall. And Captain Kirk said, there's no wall in space. And Spock said, yes, that would be illogical to keep out the black planets. And Scotty said, yeah, that doesn't make any sense. They're all nice planets. But Captain Kirk said, man, that planet's kind of peculiar. It's kind of blinking. In fact, I've never seen a planet like that. And Spock said, yes, I'd like to do the Vulcan mind meld. And Scotty said, yeah, we have to get a little bit closer, Captain. And then just as Captain Kirk said, maybe we should put up the shields. And Spock said, well, I can't do the Vulcan mind meld if you put up the shields. And Scotty said, yes, Captain, let's try to do the Vulcan mind meld. And Captain Kirk said, but it's a blinking planet. Raise the shields on the audio Vulcan mind. And Captain Kirk said, I mean it. This is an order. And just as he said that, and Scotty was about to raise the shields, they heard over the loud system, this is an order. Do not raise the shields. This is Captain Darth Vader from the Starfleet Federation. The Empire strikes back. We've joined forces with the USS Starfleet, and we are requesting do not raise your shields. That would be seen as an act of war. Do not raise those shields. In fact, let me come closer to you. And Captain Kirk says, Scotty, raise the shields on the audio Vulcan mind. And Spock said, well, Captain, he did say he's part of the Starfleet command. And he says, Spock, are you out of your Vulcan mind? And just as he said that, Darth Vader said, Captain Kirk, Scotty, Spock, this is an order. Do not raise the shields. And Captain Kirk said, how do you know our names? And Scotty said, yeah, how do you know our names? And Spock said, yes, how do you know our name? He said, Captain, I am your father. If you search your village, you know it's true. And Captain said, no, I just talked to my dad yesterday. And Scotty said, yeah, my dad left a long time ago. And Spock said, yes, my father's green. But Darth Vader said, it's an order from Starfleet Command. Do not raise your shields. And Captain Kirk said, Spotty, raise the shield. Are you out of your Vulcan mind? And then at that moment, like a lot of business owners, they refused to have a trust. Darth Vader got ready to power up the Death Star so lightning could hit the Enterprise. And he even had one more thing to entice him. He said, Captain Kirk, if you search your village, you know it's true. Join the dark side. I am your father. I will even throw in Luke Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Lando Calrissian, and even Han Solo, as well as two robots called C-3PO and R2-D2. And Captain Kirk said, raise the shields on the audio volume, mine. And just as they said that, just as they did that, he said, light speed straight ahead. And they went on the warp speed and they avoided the Death Star. And just like a lot of business owners, don't wait until you get hit by the Death Star, called an attorney. That comes after all your assets. You gotta get a trust and protection, if that makes sense to you. And Big C's auditioning for Star Trek 29 and Star Wars 25, if that makes sense to you. Protection of your assets. Avoiding the nightmare of debt brought by the government's estate recovery program called probate. And they can take between 10 to 40% of your assets. And if you don't have a will and a trust, you know you go to probate and the court will take all of your assets, if that makes sense to you. You don't want to do that. You want to have a will and a trust, a one-time processing fee versus monthly insurance premiums for the rest of your life. But not only that, I'm not done yet. What you get with the RDC team, we have something that's so special with our asset protection. Insurance coverage required by law, general liability, workers' compensation, lawyers specializing in living trust, Medicaid or Medi-Cal planning for long-term care, avoid probate. We have life insurance products, veterans benefits, aid and attendance, pre-planning, and avoid the look-back period. A trust protects your fixed assets, your bank account, checking account, savings account, money market accounts, certificates of deposit, life insurance with cash values, your fixed index annuities. It also protects your variable assets. A trust protects your real estate, your qualified money, IRAs, 401ks, and other investments. For example, you can help avoid capital gains. Let's say you buy a house for $100,000. What can you buy that house, Big C? Well, let me finish the story. And say in 1 year it appreciates to $1 million. With a $900,000 capital gains, you avoid that with a trust over 3 decades of experience. Attention business owners. I said attention business owners. Attention business owners. Over 3 decades of experience, find out your other options to protect what your insurance does not cover. Oh, Big C, my insurance covers everything. A lot like the force field that protects the USS Starship Enterprise. All force fields are not the same. You got to have a trust if that makes sense to you. Now, when someone says, well, Big C, why would we trust you? Well, I'm glad you asked. Whenever someone says they want you to buy their product, the smart thing to say is, do you have any references? Well, I'm glad you asked. Now, some companies, they won't tell you about references because they don't have them. But we have references. We have the late James Gomez, who advised governors and led a change in California nursing homes. He served on Golden One's board of directors 21 years, the CEO, California Association of Health Facilities. You gotta give that some praise. But not only that, he endorsed the RDC team. And not only that, we have the late Robert Carlson. He was a top legal counsel for CalPERS. He endorsed the RDC team. But not only that, we have Charlton Curry, the co-chair of the National Black Wall Street Project. I endorsed the RDC team. But not only that, owner of Big C Sports Corporations. But not only that, I'm telling you, also a business development consultant for the RDC team. But not only that, we have Double O. She's on the payout committee for the National Black Wall Street Project, and she endorses the RDC team. Not only that, she's a consultant with the RDC team. But not only that, she has her own economics awareness talk show called Let's Eat. You can Google it on Access Sacramento. And she endorses the RDC team. You can give it all praise. I said give it praise, 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 because a mind is a terrible thing to waste. And I love not wasting my mind. That's why I bring you Big C Sports Podcast. And as I always told you, a mind is a terrible thing to waste. I think I'm the only sports show, and I could be wrong about it, but I think I'm the only sports show in the universe that pays homage to the California Reparations Task Force. And I'm going to do that before I bring on a special guest. It's important that we know these things because sometimes if you don't talk about it, then people will think it does not exist. I want to give praise to the inimitable Dr. Shirley Weber, the Secretary of the State of California. I want to give praise to the California Governor, Gavin Newsom. They put together a task force a few years ago to study reparations. And now we have a 1,065-page report is finished. I want to also give praise to the chair, Camila Moore. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. She also is an expert when it comes to legal minds of studying reparative justice. You know, she photobombed one of my pictures at a reparations task force rally. I hope that she will photobomb the Big C Sports Podcast. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Dr. Amos C. Brown, the vice chair of the California Reparations Task Force. He actually came on the Big C Sports Podcast. Really do appreciate him about 2 months ago. I want to give praise to California Senator Stephen Bradford. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. He also sponsored Name, Image, and Likeness. that allows a lot of college student athletes to get paid on their name, image, and likeness. He also sponsored the Ebony Alert that allows law enforcement with the same amount of resources in finding missing black children as the Amber Alert puts into finding missing white children. The guy is brilliant. I've met him many times in his office and also at Reparations task force meetings. It's like Moses in Exodus when God told Moses, he said, go down into Egypt and tell Pharaoh to let my people go. And Moses said to God, well, who do I tell him sent me? And God said, tell him I am sent you. And he went down and did it. And Bradford's the same thing. He was praying one night, and God told Senator Bradford, he said, go down into the state capital of California and tell them I said pass reparations. And Senator Bradford said, well, who do I tell him sent me? And God said, tell him I am sent you. And now he's gotten past Senate Bill 1331, 1403, and 1050, and is making his way to the back nine for reparations. I want to give him praise. He's a brilliant man, and I love fallen California Senator Stephen Bradford. I want to give praise to Council Member Monica Montgomery Stepp. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Assembly Member Reginald Jones Sawyer. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. I want to give praise to Dr. Shell Grills. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to our attorney Lisa Holder. She's brilliant. She's an attorney that specializes in diversity, equity, and inclusion. That Project 2025 wants to get rid of. I love giving her praise. I'm going to give praise to Dr. Devon Scott Lewis, professor at California Berkeley. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. I'm going to give praise to Attorney Donald K. Tamaki, part of the California Reparations Task Force. As a Japanese citizen, his ancestors got reparations from their internment camp. Give them all praise. You got to give them all praise, because of mine is a terrible thing to waste. Before I go to my special guest, I hope you understand that reparations are deserved by descendants of chattel slavery. Listen to the greatest speaker ever on civil rights about reparations.
Martin Luther King, we had a conversation a couple days ago about handouts and how these right-wing memes, these Republican memes, have infiltrated the Democratic debate to suggest that, ending welfare as we know it, all those kind of things are somehow, great and noble things, when we're not dealing with the underlying problem, which is that there's no economic opportunity there because of insane trade policies and because of Reaganomics. And Martin Luther King spoke to this. Jim and Shane, this is clip number 4. Martin Luther King spoke to this sometime back in the early 60s. And I thought this was a really interesting quote. Here he is.
At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. And this is what we are faced with. And this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington, in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
From his speech, The Two Nations of Black America. And it's absolutely brilliant. And the next time some white person talks about, well, I pulled myself up by my bootstraps and my family did too, especially the Bundy boys. I mean, here's Martin Luther King, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., talking about how basically whites stole the West from the Indians with the complete, and didn't just steal it. I mean, murdered them he murdered the Indians in the process, and did not give any of these benefits to African Americans for 100 years in this country. It's a strong case for reparations or some variation on it, for rebuilding our cities, for doing right after having done wrong for so many centuries. It is a very, very strong case for that.
Reparations now! Reparations forever! That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I believe that reparations will happen this year. It's the right thing. In fact, when you think about the way the stars align in the universe, the same way the pyramids were built to align with the stars, you got to see that reparations are right now on the top of the mind for a lot of decent people. You know, good people. You people. It's going to happen in this country. It's going to happen this year. I'm going to come back after I take the Big C pause. I'm going to have a special guest. We'll be back in just a moment. All right, we're back from the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 29 podcast applications all over the universe. And streaming on 4 TV platforms: Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon and Fire TV. Also in the talks of having more networks that want to pick up the Big C Sports podcast. And I believe that a mind is a terrible thing to waste, and that's why they want to add Big C to their platform. I have a special guest by the name of Dennis Cameron. He goes by the name of DC, and like in Dixie, a District of Columbia. But Dennis Cameron Jr. He's a consultant, a financial consultant. Also works with Legal Shield, and also has good contact with lawyers that represent professional athletes from Canada and also the United States. And I want to say he lives in one of the hottest cities in the universe. Dennis, DC, welcome to Big C Sports. Your thoughts?
Yes, Big C. It's a pleasure talking with you this afternoon. Where whatever happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
That's what I hear. That's what I hear.
Yeah, so it is very true.
Well, I won't ask you to reveal anything that no one's supposed to know about. Fair enough?
That's fair enough. We can talk all night.
Well, Dennis, number one, it's a pleasure having you on the program. I've been doing some work with some Buddhists. It's called Nichiren Buddhism, where you chant Nam Yoho Renkeyo, Nam Yoho Renkeyo, Nam Yoho Renkeyo. And I went to a center. My brother Todd was a Buddhist, and I've been studying this about 22 years. At the same time, more and more as you get into different things that work for people, I'm having such a wonderful time, and things are expanding in my own universe. And one of those is with National Black Wall Street Project, having you on a call that I met through a call. Never met you in person, but we know many of the same people. And that's when I heard your voice when I was talking to you the last couple of weeks. And then I was in the river meditating just over the weekend. And I asked you, would you be in my program? And just like that, you're on the program. So I want to thank you for coming onto the program, Dennis. And talk, if you don't mind. I edified you somewhat. But talk, if you don't mind, for about a minute about your background when it comes to sports and financial services. Your thoughts?
Sure. Sports is always a favorite of mine. Obviously, I went as high as playing football in college. Excuse me.
Yes.
I represent myself at San Diego State.
Yes.
And there again, I did well there, but I was so engulfed in sports till I eventually involved myself with sports as a later in my life. And currently, I'm representing a client who has suffered a concussion injury.
Okay.
Getting into more serious that subject, and concussion injuries are something that I do want to speak of, because as a fan of the sports, in all sports, it can be injury can be somewhat devastating.
Yes.
To the person.
Yes.
So, if you were going to, let's talk a little bit about some of the issues that I think surrounding concussions. Is that okay with you, Big?
Of course.
Big C?
Of course, because you know, DC, the football season is starting this week. We just had the Hall of Fame game in Canton, Ohio. It was rained out, obviously, but still, we're getting into the meat of the season, preseason. We know September is kicking off in the week 1 of September. But what people don't talk about much, I know Will Smith made a movie about it, but at the same time, you are working in that industry, so feel free to go ahead. You have the steering wheel. Go ahead, please.
Yes. There is some serious discussion about the settlement that the NFL had put together. I'll take over $1 billion. But that being said, the CFL eventually put through a first impression in the courts, and I do represent their client, who also filed a petition with the courts for his injury, a concussion injury.
Okay.
And what's misunderstood is the CTE. Now, that's a medical terminology for one
who has brain injury.
Yes.
But the problem with that is most it cannot be identified. It cannot be identified until after the person has passed away.
Right.
And there's an autopsy performed. So we know that. But here's the issue. Concussion injuries are serious.
Yes.
And we know, and it can be very devastating and deadly. But what can we do about it? Well, we can't just look at it as if it's going to go away.
Right.
I give the NFL credit. They've changed some of the rules in terms of just recently.
Yeah.
Kickoff.
Yep.
Kickoff from 50-yard line or whatever. And then you can't start going toward the receiver until he catches the ball. That being said, but what about the current settlement? This is so there's some issues. How are they dispersing these funds?
Yeah.
And to what degree do the injured players receive these funds after death, or whether the testing procedures? There should be more transparency in the NFL as to how these funds are dispersed.
Yes.
Now, having said that, and Big C, you could interrupt me now with the questions if you want.
Please do. I do want to touch on the fact that you did mention they put aside $1 billion, but they make it so difficult to get it. It's like putting $1 billion on TV, but it's not really there unless you go through 19 hoops to get it. Does that make sense? Is that fair enough?
That is fair enough, because the testing is certainly done independently by someone paid by the NFL.
Yeah.
And sometimes that testing is kind of screwed, not in the favor of the injured player, per se.
Yeah.
It may be they score some sort of dementia or some sort of issues in terms of their concussion injury.
Yeah.
But what is it really based on? Rather than putting in the money aside, and how many players do benefit, and their family, the collateral damage to the families, the children, and are they really taken care of over the long run? What percentage of these funds, I know is drawing interest,
of course,
are being dispersed to the players?
Right.
That's just, that's really key. Full disclosure. But one of the reasons why I'm so involved in it, as I said, I do represent these issues going on in Canada. One of the things that happened in Canada, the lawyer, Robin Wishart, she went through all 3 levels of courts.
Okay.
To the Supreme Court. Then the Supreme Court said that, well, we'll put it back to the league, in the Canadian Football League, and let them decide in terms of how they're going to compensate the player.
Okay.
Then that throws to what you call arbitration. See, but arbitration, the arbitrator is probably selected by what? CFL.
Exactly.
See, here we go again. So it should be a little bit more fairness, and actually the jurisdiction should have been taken by the courts.
Right.
The court's supposed to be the independent arbitrator, but they threw it back to the CFL. So where are we right now?
Yes.
So that being said, we're still in the fight, and right now I think it's been going on. This is the fact. Litigation in the CFL has been going on for 10 years.
Wow.
Man, 10 years.
Yeah.
But what happens during that time? The player could have died, right?
Yes.
The player could have died. So there's no what you call immediate remedy for the players.
Yes.
So I can speak to this at length, but I want to maybe digress to a more pleasant subject.
Well, but I think what you're saying is so necessary, Dennis, Cameron Jr., DC, because, we get hyped up. Football is psychology. There are times where there's high school or college or professional where you get hyped up and start jumping around. You pat each other on the back and the head or at the helmet as if you already won the game. So there's a part of this psychological impact of football that makes you go and fight through pain. You got to fight through injury. And what I disagree with, it's just my own opinion, some of the old timers, they have this macho attitude, as erroneous as it is. Oh, when I played the game, we could hurt people. We could body slam some people. We could rip someone's head off. That's when I played the game. And some of those guys can't even talk, or they're walking around on canes. So that's erroneous thinking. But it's that psychology that some people are brain fed, that you got to be tough and almost willing to risk your own life to play the game. That's foolish. And now the smarter players are saying, we want the protection. Your thoughts?
Big C, that's an excellent point. And I want to say this, and this may be controversial what I say, but I want to say it because OJ actually had brain damage. anyone who committed what he did had brain damage. I know this is way out there, but obviously that happens, and they carry this damage to the degree that they cause harm to themselves and those that they love.
Right. Well, we heard.
So
go ahead, please.
So that comment you made, these macho players that even Jim Brown was I admired him. He was a mentor of mine. I loved the man. He was a man's man, but playing football. But look how he lived the rest of his life. He had arthritis so bad he couldn't even walk.
Could barely even walk. Yeah, the great Jim Brown. He was an All-American at Syracuse, and just a kicker, running back. And he played the game when a lot of African Americans were not allowed to really ascend higher than maybe a running back or maybe an offensive or defensive lineman. They were not allowed to be quarterbacks. But Jim Brown was such a dominant figure. But please expound on that relationship that you had as a mentor. You said your thoughts.
Oh yeah, we met a few times, and he had the Black Power group that he put together. He was very much an advocate for his civil rights and making sure that black men in particular had some economic power.
Yeah.
And speaking of economic power, that's what we're about too. Big C. You play a part in that, and I try to help in that regard. Helping people who don't. As Martin Luther King said, poverty is a crime. Poverty is a crime.
Yeah.
And those that need a leg up, all we need is just an opportunity. We don't want any hands out. We want just an opportunity. So I try to help in that regard as well.
Well, let me just interject because we can agree to disagree. DC, Big C and DC on the Big C Sports Podcast. I do want to hand out because I know about the Homestead Act. In 1862, the United States government gave white Americans over 300 million acres of land to develop the West.
Right.
And even white Europeans, they didn't have to buy it. They didn't earn it. It was a handout. Also, if I look at what happened with the Marshall Plan, the United States government, along with Europe, helped rebuild Europe after the war. And now people go there on vacation. That was a handout. They didn't go to the bank to get a loan. And not only that, when you think about the GI Bill, where black soldiers helped to end the terror of Nazi Germany, when the white soldiers came back home, they got a handout called the GI Bill that helped them start business and get houses, etc. They didn't earn it, and they definitely didn't give it back. They told people who look like you and me no. So when it comes, I do want a handout, and I'm not ashamed to ask for it. Your thoughts?
Well, if we both could be right.
Yeah.
We could both want to have a handout. We also want to do it on our own volition.
Yeah.
More importantly, they should both be available.
Yeah.
I do agree with you. And as I said, in every particular category, there seems to be some sort of fairness. But when it comes to the Afro-American, the slave, the slave, there's always an exception.
So,
and this is what the marathon fight continues. Nipsey Hussle, is that his name? Nipsey Hussle. His wife had such a profound statement. The marathon continues.
Yeah,
and we know that to be the case, and we will get to the promised land. What did Martin Luther King say? I may not get there with you, but we will see.
We will get there to the promised land.
And Malcolm X says, "Some by any means necessary." Well, I will say this. Well, this is one of the reasons why you notice that. Certain entertainers, we try to make money in the sports arena.
Yeah,
the salaries are paid quite well in the sports arena, entertainment world, etc. But in the business world, there's so many barriers we still have to overcome.
Yeah, I agree.
And I'm trying to be a part of that.
Well, but Dennis, talking to the great Dennis Jr., DC consultant, financial consultant, also works with lawyers that represent professional athletes. In the world of business as well as entertainment. And thank you for coming on Big C Sports Podcast. I want to touch on something, too, because we can talk about anything. I just don't talk about profanity. And I hope that me saying I disagree with you doesn't cost me that big steak you were going to buy me, that Flintstone steak when I come to Vegas. Your thoughts?
Big C. I think that Burger King, they have
you see how you are? Hey, if the glove don't fit, you must have quit, right?
Yes.
So I hope I didn't call myself.
We'll make it. I tell you, I want to leave you with this thought, Big C. One more thought.
Yes.
Enthusiasm is common
Yes.
Ignorance is rare.
I'll take it. What did JFK say? Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. And I'm asking for that big Flintstone Jake the next time I come to Las Vegas. Not the one they sell at Mickey D's. Your thoughts, Dennis? but I do want to say, talking to the great Dennis Cameron Jr., call him DC Financial Consulting, also works with lawyers that represent professional athletes and entertainers on Big C Sports Podcast today. Also, we both have a lot in common, National Black Wall Street Project. I do want to ask you, because we are in a seminal moment in our history, whether it's the Olympics right now in Paris, going down the Seine River where it's polluted, but they cleaned it up for the Olympics. And then obviously some people were swimming in it and got a little bit of ill, but that's okay. Hopefully they'll get better. But when it comes to this seminal moment, because I believe that reparations should be top of the mind for decent people, for God-fearing people, not for some good old boys that want to keep things the way they were. I don't want to even entertain those people, but for good people, God-fearing people, irrespective of your race, creed, color, religion, reparations is so necessary for the heart of a pure person. I want to ask you your thoughts with this, and everybody has their own opinion, Dennis. We have right now, for I believe, the second time in this country that an African-American woman, black woman, is trying to become the president of the United States. Shirley Chisholm back in the early 70s, 72, I believe. And now we have Kamala Harris, who's been a two-time California Attorney General, a senator, and now a vice president for 4 years. And now, because the way the universe lines up, becoming the Democratic nominee to become the president of the United States, I believe she's going to win, because I don't know of women that are going to vote for their children, especially their daughters, to not have sovereignty over their bodies. I don't believe they're going to vote for someone who has 34 counts against them and accused of one of the most heinous crimes that happens to women. I don't see women being that ignorant to say, well, it's okay if that happens to my daughter or my grandchildren, and that you can read between the lines. But give me your thoughts. I'm very passionate about it. Your thoughts on having a woman of color being able to be the president of the United States of America. Your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts about a woman is that my mother was a woman. I think all men came from a woman. Correct?
Yeah. Yep.
That's my first thought. Yes. We know we loved our mother.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think the beginning of life, a woman brings us here. Men drops the seed, and women, of course, nourish us for 9 months and within. But more importantly, back to the issue of what's in hand. I think it lined up the universe. As said, John Kennedy once said, God's work is truly our own.
Yes.
I think actually Kamala, it was given to us by the grace of God.
Yes.
And at this time, she's prepared to lead us to the promised land. And I think there's so many issues that she's capable of helping, as reparations being one of them.
Yes.
But more importantly, bringing people together. She's the politics of, for the first time in 8 years or so, we had this person that we know, and we know his name, Donald Trump.
Yeah.
A pathological liar.
Yeah.
And essentially a sociopath.
Yeah.
And also a convicted felon.
Yeah.
Etc.
Yeah.
We know we need to bring this country together. She has nominated someone, a Middle Eastern male, to run the ticket, help her run the ticket.
Yes.
Waltz.
Yeah. Waltz.
And he categorized the opposing side, which they are weird.
Yeah.
Weird. And we have to, but in saying that, what he's trying to say is, look at yourself. To thy own self be true.
Yeah.
It's what he's telling his other side. We can do better. And this is what Kamala is saying. We can do better than this.
Yeah.
Most importantly, we need our health. And who would not be for health care? Who would not want to have health care for all those who can't afford it, or can't, even those that can afford it?
Yes.
Health is key. I think the Affordable Care Act passed by Obama, initiated by Obama, she wants to continue that. Trump wants to deny that.
Exactly.
But think about the freedom women have today with their own bodies. Who can tell a man what to do with their bodies? Is there any laws out there now that tells a man what he can do with his bodies?
No.
Think about that.
No.
But there are laws out there that tell a woman what they can do with their bodies. That doesn't make sense.
Does not make sense. And last I checked, too, talking to the great Dennis Cameron Jr., D.C., I don't think there's a law against a man getting a vasectomy But if if Project 2025 gets in with the orange hair, if he gets in, a woman can actually be arrested for having what a doctor may term an abortion. That's between her and God, not some man who has 34 indictments and counts against him and other heinous things that happen from the court. It's not even allegedly. It's out. You can Google 34 counts against him, and that's the best that our country can do on the Republican side. It makes no sense to me in my own thinking how someone can close a blind eye to that when Michael Vick went to prison for dogfighting and he wasn't even a part of it. Your thoughts?
Very well thought. Very well said. Big C, you're on charge. I'm going to promote you. I'm going to take you to Lowry Steakhouse.
Oh, now I get to go, right? Well, do they serve collard greens?
Yeah. We may have to order that. Order that to go.
We got to give them some culture. They got to get some more culture to bring the collard greens, okay?
They have it hidden back there in that chauffeurs.
Yes.
Here again.
Yes.
You're on point, Big C. And I think that this is the time is coming. They say this in the Bible.
Yes.
There's a time and place for everything, right?
Yeah.
And now is the time for a woman to take the helm and try to lead us to another direction.
Yeah.
Of just commonality, just common sense.
Yes.
And we so much has been taken from us in the last 8 years. You can read it. We can disagree in a more civilized way.
Yes, exactly.
And in America, I'll put it this way: we should be a more perfect union, but we're on our way. There's a lot of work to be done.
Well,
a lot of work to be done.
Dennis, and I appreciate you saying that because there's sometimes I can't make up my own mind. Do I turn left? Do I turn right? When I go walk, do I walk with my left foot first or my right foot first? And I've had those conversations with myself because sometimes I might be a little bit what people call you don't want to have yourself out of a certain rhythm. And when you get into a rhythm, whether it's walking or boxing or fighting or MMA or throwing footballs, basketball, baseball, players call it being in the zone where you feel like you're unstoppable at times. And there's sometimes we question our own selves. But I got to ask you this because it's so important. And again, this is Big C Sports coming to you, talking to the great Dennis Cameron Jr., known as DC, financial consultant, also works with lawyers who represent professional athletes and entertainers. When I think about, as a beautiful, intelligent black man, I think I want to be erudite. W.E.B. Du Bois talked about that talented tense. And sometimes people say that beauty's in the eye of the beholder. But as a beautiful, intelligent black man, African-American man, I can't see why some of our black brethren, and we're not a monolithic group, but if you know who call for the death penalty for the Central Park Five, who are people that look like you and me and many of our sons and fathers and brothers and cousins, and the largest housing discrimination lawsuit in New York State that was settled, it's the same quote as 45. And some of our black men and women, maybe they're being paid to say it. Are you telling me they're going to say they want to advocate and stomp for a person that would not rent a home or an apartment to their grandparents, great-grandparents, their mothers, their fathers, their brothers and sisters, nieces and nephews, unless they were those are very, very elite African-Americans that are known for entertainment and sports? That is a lawsuit that was settled. We know Central Park 5, that's out there. He never apologized. And whatever you have, a black job or a white job, that's so insulting. He went to the National Association of the Black Journalists, and he said that Rachel Scott was mean and rude and nasty. She doesn't have 34 counts against her. She's not convicted of an assault against a woman. She didn't say you could walk down the street and grab a woman by their private parts and get away with it. What's wrong with the women, and especially some of our African-American men in this country that say that's okay to do that to their daughters? Your thoughts?
Well, I think, Big, see, there's a cult following. And when there's something that Einstein said and Martin Luther King said it as well. And I want to say this is true.
Yes.
He said, this is how both of the brilliant minds quoted. Some people are seriously stupid and consciously ignorant. And we, having said that, so what do you do with those people? Well, first you recognize the fact that they exist.
Yeah.
Secondly, sometimes we have to realize we cannot change everybody in terms of their stupidity. and their ignorance.
Yeah.
But what we can do is at least put the truth out there. The truth will set you free. And this is what we're going to try and do with the people that are, as you said, are seriously ignorant and stupid enough to vote for someone who essentially all he cares about himself. So sometimes, when you're in school and when professors tell you, or even lawyers will tell you, sometimes you got to repeat the subject over and over again. Yeah. You have to say it over and over again. No, this is not right. This is why this is not right.
Yeah.
This person is lying to you. Don't believe. He'll tell you, don't believe your lying eyes, or believe your lying eyes.
Yeah.
So you really do have to understand. Most people they listen, but do they really understand?
Yes.
And this is sad. But I think what brought about this mindset? Here again. And when you think back, why was he elected? When a woman was running up against him. Yeah. Let's just get real here. When Hillary had an opportunity to take the presidency. Yeah. Look what happened. The men inside the FBI, this attorney, not this is so-called, but this attorney general, whatever his name was, 6'8", came out 1 week or 2 weeks before the election and said he's going to open up a criminal investigation on Hillary. Remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. I remember it.
So what I'm saying is, sometimes those that have so-called the meanings they make, and he wasn't a stupid man.
No.
The guy who. But some people who think that they're doing the right thing, and at the same time they're harming what purpose would be served if Hillary had won that election.
Yeah.
Look, the United States wouldn't be in the shape that we're in right now. So what am I saying? Certain things happen by just circumstances. Yeah. And sometimes it's by accident. But sometimes things happen on purpose. Yeah. I think it was a deliberate opportunity to make sure a woman who's never been, certainly Hillary, would never be president, because she was behind the impeachment of Nixon at one time. They've held a grudge. The Republicans have held a grudge, Pixie, since Nixon was forced out of office. Yeah. You remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And you see, I know whether you're old enough or young enough to remember that, but the point being is that was one of their almost a retaliation mode that they've been in.
Yeah, the Watergate scandal back in the day. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
And over time, they always wanted to retaliate, get back. So here come along Obama, a black man, became president in 2008. I remember we went there for his actual inauguration. We actually in the cold, sitting next to Oprah Winfrey.
Yes.
Sitting next to Denzel Washington.
Yes.
And front seats, Dianne Feinstein had a chance to put us there.
Wow.
But more importantly, when this black man was elected president of the United States, what did that do? Rather than bring us together, it ignited fundamental racism in America. Let's just face it. Racism has not been
it's real. It's real. It's real. Yeah.
And so Trump, he couldn't even take a joke when Obama was leaving office, and he's at one of those correspondent dinners. Yeah. He kind of made jokey of Trump, but his decision problems was. And the only reason why Trump even was known by the American public is because he was scripted on The Apprentice.
Yeah, on The Apprentice. Yeah.
So as you know, we thought, even I thought he was smart, but we realized his mother said that, and I will repeat what his mother said about him, Big C.
Yes.
His mother said this. This is the quote. His mother said, "My son is an idiot and has no common sense, and I hope he never get involved in politics." That's what his mother said about
and they say, listen to your mothers. I want to say, talking to the great Dennis Cameron Jr., D.C., we got about 5 minutes left, and I know they say what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, but I do want to say you're very well learned. I appreciate talking to your W.E.B. Du Bois mentality. I do know you said you had a mentor in Jim Brown, the late Jim Brown, but also you mentioned the late Johnny Cochran, who was a brilliant lawyer.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about your relationship with the late Johnny Cochran, please, on the Big Street Sports Podcast.
Well, I certainly will, and I mentioned two lawyers that edified me in the world of law, and one was Crispus A. Wright, well-renowned attorney who fathered in so many great attorneys. But look him up. Christmas Atlas Wright. Christmas A. Wright.
Okay.
And he also, helped me in one of the first impressions before the courts, and that is that a conservatee can adopt. See, conservatee can adopt. That was the first impression before the court.
Yes.
That a lot of times when you have a conservatee representing, they cannot adopt, but the laws changed under his petition to the court. Johnny Cochran go way back when I met him, and I was promoting at that time Legal Shield.
Yes.
At that time, it may have been called Prepaid Legal.
Yeah, Prepaid Legal.
And I told Johnny, I said, Johnny, I got something for you that may be interested in. It may be a way that people can afford you. Johnny was a top-rate attorney.
Yep.
Maybe they could at least get a chance to see you for 30 minutes.
Yes.
He said, okay. And he said, okay, I want you to come to my office and give a presentation.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget this at Big C. He had all his lawyers listen to me for about 15 minutes or 20 minutes.
Yes.
Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
A man of his caliber.
Yeah.
He'd tell them, I want you to listen to Dennis Cameron give this presentation. And I never forget that. And then from that point on, obviously, I had other issues that I brought to him. Not any criminal matter now. I had other issues I wanted to sue.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's the great Johnny Cochran, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. And never forget his baby blue Rolls Royce.
Yeah.
We would such a camaraderie till he would be driving to his office. I see him coming to his office. He stopped in the middle of the street. No, I tell you, stop in the middle of the street.
Yeah.
We start talking.
Yes.
I had my Jaguar. I said, "Hey, Johnny, where are you headed?" To your office. I said, "Well, I got something. I got an issue I want to talk to you about."
Yes.
Boy, but I had one of the attorneys. They resented. Who is Dennis Cameron to get Johnny's attention like that? I swear. Jealousy sometimes within.
So that's how you get the name DC, right?
Yeah, there you go.
That's funny.
Well, and obviously went to the same church. He did attend Antioch Baptist Church in Long Beach. He wasn't a member of, but he did show up sometime.
Yes.
So we go way back, and he also helped my wife with the issue.
Wow.
And
wow.
So we became friends. But as I said, it's so sad the way he passed so soon, and it was about the telephone, I think.
Yeah.
His ears were so close to that phone, he got a brain tumor.
Yeah, a great man that helped a lot of people, and obviously became well known for the O.J. Simpson case, but he's done a lot more for people before that. We got about a minute left talking to the great Dennis Cameron.
I want to say this about Johnny.
Please do.
He was going to take the reparation issue up. You see,
really?
Before he passed. His clout was such that he could do that. And right now, you needed someone like of Johnny's class and status to have taken the reparation nationwide.
He had
to get on doing that, you see. That's why, such a loss.
Well, Dennis, the United Nations, we can go into overtime. United Nations is pro-reparations. It won't be the first time it's ever happened for people that, it's happened for everybody except for the group that built this country from cradle to grave. Ancestors never got paid. They were lynched, murdered, sold off, beaten, raped, set fire to, castrated with someone's hand on the Bible. And then they did it with impunity. And sometimes even getting an apology is not enough. So we want the same thing for descendants of child slavery that's happened to descendants of Holocaust with the JUST Act, the JUST Act. Right. Anyone can Google that. It's not anathema to have the same type of justice in this great country that was built on the backs of African Americans. And people know that. Even the most dumbest person on the planet knows that. Slavery is about repair. It needs to happen the same way your car gets repaired when something's wrong with it. If you have a medical condition, you go to the hospital so they can repair what happened to you. If you have a legal issue, you can go to the court to have the court ferret out justice. It's the same thing. Your thoughts?
You see, there's another thing. If we have a president that has the courage is the greatest of all virtues now. Courage is the greatest of all virtues.
Yeah.
If we have a courage, and right now the Supreme Court has given the power to the president a great deal.
Yeah.
He can use the power and say that because of the national security and because of all, he can implement certain things by fiat, more or less.
Yes.
By stating that this is going to happen because I believe the country will be better served.
Yes.
And we have an issue that has been deprived of a certain class of people for years.
Yes.
And I'm going to do this in all fairness. I'm going to give land. Now, he has the authority on the interior, in my opinion. Correct me if I'm wrong. He can give away land for oil drilling.
Yep.
There's land he can give away just, I think, without going through a treaty or without going through the Congress, etc.
Yeah.
This needs to be investigated. The power of the presidency.
Yeah.
Allocate a certain amount of land for black folks.
Dennis, you're so right. We've got about 3 minutes to go. But when we talk about the Emancipation Proclamation, African Americans were supposed to get 40 acres of the mule. But the Homestead Act gave white citizens and white Europeans 160 acres of land. That's 4 times as much. That's part of the wealth gap. When Einstein said that compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world, when you're given 160 acres of land, you can go to the bank, get a loan, you can sell it for farming, business, housing, you can do anything with it. If someone gave you 160 acres of land right now, you're instantly wealthy. You didn't earn it, you didn't buy it, and that's what's created this wealth gap. And then after that, 100 years of Jim Crow. How could a just nation keep saying, well, that's too long ago to do something about it? Your thoughts?
Big C. Here's what we have to do. First step, let's try to get this black woman elected. We need a spokesman. We need an advocate. And it takes one, sometime a leader with courage to implement some of the things we've always wanted. Now, that's not the only course, but that's the beginning.
Yes.
That's the beginning. The first 1,000 miles, begin with the first step.
Yeah.
You got to have someone advocating what you just stated so eloquently.
Yeah.
And I got that word out. Did I pronounce it correct?
Yeah. You said eloquently right, but I want you to know, I hope that earned me 2 steaks down at the restaurant in Las Vegas. Your thoughts?
I think I can vouch for that.
Well, I'll tell you.
With your time, I really appreciate you reaching out, Big C.
Yes, sir.
I think you're credit to your race.
Boy, I appreciate it. The human race, right? All life came from Africa, according to Dr. Leakey and Gregory Mendo. And I was told, if you know where you come from, maybe you respect your root a little better. So all life came from Africa. All life, no matter how much melanin you had. Talking to the great Dennis Cameron Jr. DC. We only got about a minute left. Anything you want to say to let people know what you're doing? Anything that's on your mind, as long as I still get that steak when we're done and some thoughts. Go ahead.
Well, here's what I think we should do. I think we should focus right now on, I like what Kamala says, we got to fight for our freedom.
Yeah.
I think that Project 25 to 2025 is a dangerous project.
Yes.
And I think as Americans, we love our country.
Yes.
We love our country. We got to fight for our country. We got to vote. All I want to tell those listeners, please vote your conscience. Please vote your conscience. And if your conscience, is distorted, well, we're going to help you try to get it in the right direction.
Like great grandmama said, go get me that switch, boy. Is that what you said? Go get me that switch?
That's what I'm going to say. Let's just vote.
Go vote.
What does it say? Don't be screaming and hollering.
Right. Go vote.
Register.
And vote for Kamala. Vote for the woman where all life came from, if that makes sense to you. Talking to the great Dennis Cameron Jr., DC consultant, financial planner, also works with many top lawyers who represents athletes and entertainers. I gotta lift off on this Starship Enterprise before they leave me on this planet, okay? I want to make sure we thank you for coming on the Big C Sports Podcast. I want to thank you. I appreciate you, Dennis, and I hope that you have a super fantastic day.
Well, you're the great one. Great, Big C. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a super fantastic day. That's the great Dennis Cameron Jr., known as DC. I'll take what's called the Big C pause, and I'll be back in just a moment.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dennis. All right, we are back from the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 29 podcast applications all over the universe and streaming on 4 TV platforms: Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV. Really want to thank the great Dennis Cameron Jr., known as DC Financial Consultant, also owner of a Legal Shield as a manager, and works with many lawyers that represent professional athletes and entertainers joining Big C Sports Podcast. Well, as I always tell you, enjoy Paris, France, Parlez-vous Français, the Olympics, and if you do, you can chant as you follow Big C Sports. I want you to chant Nam Yoho Renge Yo, Nam Yoho Renge Yo, Nam Yoho Renge Yo, and chant for my Buddhist friends all over the universe that follow Big C Sports Podcast. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it, as I always tell you on every Big C Sports Podcast. If you're going to drink, don't drive. If you're going to drive, don't drink, because mothers against drunk drivers are mad, and fathers against drunk drivers are mad. It's one of the easiest things not to do. You can call Uber, you can call Lyft, you can walk it off, you can sleep it off, but don't let someone you love get behind the wheel of a car and start driving after they've been drinking. The life you say may be your own, or someone you love, or someone who loves you, or someone who loved by somebody else. You need more LEADER in your life. LEADER is an acronym for love is the answer. As my mother always says, that's never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. No man, woman, or child should ever have to go to that crap on their own. If somebody's hitting you, I only hit you because you made me mad. Call 911. If somebody's choking you, I only choked you because you made me mad. If somebody's kicking you, I only kicked you because you made me mad. Pick up the phone and call 911, because no man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that crap. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. If somebody loves you, they don't hit you. If somebody loves you, they don't slap you. If somebody loves you, they don't beat you. Call 911. No man, woman, or child should ever have to deal with that crap. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I always pay homage to my beautiful family legacy. On my mother's side, my great-grandparents called them Mama and Pop. They were beautiful, loving, kind people. Really do appreciate them, love them with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. In fact, when great-grandmama was back there cooking, they say, "Great-grandma, you put your foot in these collard greens. They taste so good." And yeah, she was putting her foot in it. We thought she was crushing grapes, but she was crushing collard greens. Love them with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then my grandparents, Monday and Hezekiah, they were seers. They could oftentimes look at a person and tell you a lot about their past, their present, and their future. They still help me to this day. And then I can always depend on my mama, the most beautiful mama in the history of the universe. Started a Head Start program, a food program, and also coaching all boys, a Little League baseball team, to the championship of the universe. Always saying rise and shine. The best person I ever met in my life. I love my mama with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Dear mama, you hear my praise. You hear my praise. I love your mama with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. On my father's side, my grandparents, Albert and Alberta Curry, they were pastors. They had 3 churches. They owned 2 gas stations in Oakland. I was a little boy, about 8 years old, walking through the hallway about 10 o'clock at night, and I felt somebody touch me in my forehead. She said, "What are you doing, young man? Going to get some cookies?" I said, "What are you doing, Grandma? It's 10 o'clock at night. You normally go to bed at 8:30. She said, "What are you doing, young man? Going to get some cookies?" I said, "Cookies and baby crap, but I'm doing, Grandma. I'm going to get my reparations." But a couple of cookies wouldn't hurt. It's been a long wait. She said, "There's something about your voice. I love hearing you speak." And now Big C Sports Podcast is heard all over the universe. I love my grandparents with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. They also own 40 acres of land. And then my beautiful father, former United States Air Force fighter pilot chief mechanic, always making sure that planes can fly high so we can all stay safe at night. Always saying develop your mind to its highest extent. I love my dad with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then my beautiful brother Todd with that bombastic voice. Sound like thunder and lightning when Todd would speak. Always saying go forward. In fact, he would say don't look back because you don't have much backside back there anyway. I said, "I love my backside, Todd." He said I need to do more squats so my backside can be bigger. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. You know, Todd and I, we love Malcolm X. But one of our favorite movies was Pulp Fiction with the great Sam Jackson, John Travolta, Vin Rames, and Bruce Willis. Before the big fight, like Noah Lyles told the people in the 100-meter dash and the USA 4x400-meter relay team, they told everybody, they said, "That stinging sensation you're feeling, well, that's just pride flubbing with you." And they told him what Vin Rames told Bruce Willis in Pulp Fiction. He said, "Flub pride." He said, "Pride only hurts. It never helps." He told him, "Take this money. Your butt goes down in the 5th round. Say that, flip." And Bruce Willis said, "Okay, my butt goes down in the 5th round." And he told him what a lot of men hear. "That stinging sensation you're feeling, well, that's just pride flubbing with you." And he told him what a lot of people need to hear, especially for the election. Flub pride. He said boxing is filled with a lot of unrealistic, muddly luckers who think that butt gets better with time like fine wine. But it don't. In terms of vinegar, then it do. So take this money, you're going to thank Uncle Marcellus when you're chilling in the Caribbean. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. And I love my beautiful daughter, Daisy, the most beautiful daughter in the history of the universe. College graduate, 2 degrees with honors, in 3.5 years from a major university. Daisy, you can be anything you want to be. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Daisy set up the very first interview for Big C Sports Podcast. It became the first time in the history of this country that NFL Monday Night Football started broadcasting live on the Wall Street Business Network. They had never done it before, but because the two black men of the crew, they made budget for the first time in 44 years in 1 month. And then shenanigans set in because they didn't want to make all those millions they were making from having NFL football. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Daisy, I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Always trust God, Isaiah 54:17, that no weapon formed against you will prosper. And then my beautiful, handsome son, Malcolm, the most handsome son in the history of the universe. College graduate, very smart, erudite, a good man. Malcolm always trusts God, Isaiah 54:17, that no weapon formed against you will prosper. You can be anything you want to be. In fact, Malcolm helped me save trees. I used to always get newspapers to look up stats for Big C Sports Podcast. And one day Malcolm said, Dad, why don't you just Google it? And a light bulb went off. I've been Googling ever since. Now I know what 29 podcast platforms are streaming on 4 TV platforms. Malcolm, you can be anything you want to be. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then Big C, with all that wealth of knowledge over the years, like my grandparents coming out of that barn, with their church buddies always saying, you gotta believe, you gotta believe, you gotta believe, saying, let's get ready to rumble. Welcome to the show. That's been nominated Big C Sports Podcast. I have no scripts. I have no three-way teleprompters. All I have is this gland in the brain called the pineal gland. The ancients called it the third eye. They say that's how you talk to God, and that's why I scream so loud on the Big C Sports Podcast. I want God to hear me, if that makes sense. God, you hear my praise. You hear my praise. You hear my praise, God, may lightning strike. My good will come to me. I deserve it, God, and you know it, and I thank you in advance, Father. I thank you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Back in the day, there's a man known by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He's known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, you float like a butterfly, and you sting like a bee. Rumble, young man, rumble. He said, with all you got to use, how can you use? Ali said, I'm so pretty, I can't possibly be beat. And every time I listen to Big C Sports, I want to champion reparations now, reparations forever. And then I float like a butterfly, and I sting like a bee. I want to finish the show as I honor President Abraham Lincoln and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. When they said reparations at last, thank God Almighty, reparations at last. Say it 2 more times. Reparations at last, thank God Almighty, reparations at last. Say it again. Reparations at last, thank God Almighty, reparations at last. I thank you, I appreciate you, and I hope that you have a super fantastic day.